My wife asked me to sign one last paper before our divorce. She said it was only a formality, but when I reached the final page, I saw a sentence that made me put the pen down. Upon signing, the husband agrees to surrender all rights to the property, accounts, and business listed below. I looked at my wife. Why didn't you tell me about this? She went completely silent. My name is Daniel Carter. I was 44 when my 12-year marriage ended. My wife, Laura, and I had met when we were both working at the same company. We married 2 years later and eventually built a comfortable life together. We had a house, 2 cars, and a small investment business that we had started from nothing. At least, that's what I thought. The problems began about a year before the divorce. Laura started staying late at work. She became protective of her phone. Whenever I asked what was wrong, she'd say, "I'm tired, Daniel." That's all. I wanted to believe her. Then one evening, I came home early and found her sitting at the kitchen table with a man I didn't recognize. The moment he saw me, he stood up. "I'm leaving," he said. Laura didn't introduce us. After he walked out, I asked, "Who was that?" "A financial advisor." "Why was he here?" "We were discussing our investments." Something about her answer didn't feel right. A few weeks later, Laura asked for a divorce. There was no screaming. No dramatic argument. She simply sat across from me and said, "I don't think I can do this anymore." I asked if there was someone else. She said no. I asked if she still loved me. She didn't answer. We hired lawyers and started dividing our lives. The house was supposed to be sold. Our investment accounts were supposed to be divided. The business would be evaluated. Everything seemed straightforward. Until Laura's lawyer sent me a final agreement. Laura called that evening. "There's one document I need you to sign." "What document?" "It's related to the settlement." "I'll let my lawyer review it." "You don't need to make everything difficult." "I'm not. I'm protecting myself." She sighed. "Daniel, please. I just want this over." The next morning, she came to my apartment with the document. She placed it on the table. "Sign this, and we can finish everything." I read the first page. Then the second. Everything looked normal. Then I reached the final page. That's when I saw the sentence. I looked at her. "What is this?" She took the paper from me. "You're misunderstanding it. It says I'm surrendering my rights to the property and accounts. It's temporary." "That isn't what it says." She became defensive. "You trust me, don't you?" "That's exactly the problem." She stared at me. I had never spoken to her that way before. She picked up her purse. "If you won't sign, we'll let the lawyers handle it." "Fine." She walked toward the door. Then she stopped. "Daniel?" "What?" "Don't make this uglier than it has to be." I didn't answer. After she left, I called my attorney. He read the document. Then he called me back 20 minutes later. "Daniel, don't sign anything." "Why?" "Because this isn't a normal divorce settlement." "What is it?" He explained that the document would transfer my rights in several assets before their actual values had been disclosed. One property wasn't even listed in our original financial disclosure. I immediately asked him to investigate. That afternoon, he found something. A house. Purchased 8 months earlier. The ownership records showed Laura's name. But the money used to purchase it had come from an account connected to our investment business. I stared at the documents. "How much?" $620,000. My stomach dropped. Laura had told me our business was struggling. She had told me we couldn't afford to keep the company running without cutting expenses. Yet she had secretly purchased a $620,000 house. I thought the hidden property was the whole story. It wasn't. My lawyer sent me another document. The property's ownership had recently been changed. Laura was no longer the only name attached to it. There was another name. The same man I had seen sitting in my kitchen. I stared at the screen. The financial advisor. The man Laura claimed was helping with our investments. His name was now connected to a house purchased with our money. I called Laura. She answered after several rings. Daniel? Who is Michael Grant? Silence. How do you know that name? Because he's on the title of the house you bought with our money. She didn't respond. Then I heard her whisper, "You weren't supposed to find that." I froze. What exactly wasn't I supposed to find? She hung up. I called again. No answer. 10 minutes later, my lawyer sent me one final file. It was a bank statement. And at the top was an account I had never known existed. The account holder was Laura Carter. But the beneficiary listed underneath was someone else. Our daughter. I stared at the bank statement for several seconds. Our daughter's name was listed as the beneficiary. What is this? I asked my lawyer. I don't know yet, he said. But we need to find out before you confront Laura again. I couldn't stop thinking about my daughter. She was 20 years old and away at college. She had nothing to do with our divorce. If Laura had been hiding money for her, why? The next morning, I called my daughter. Are you okay? She asked. I'm fine. I just need to ask you something. What? Did your mother ever tell you about an account in your name? There was a long silence. Then she said quietly, Dad, I think you need to talk to Mom. Why? Because she made me promise not to tell you. My chest tightened. Tell me what? She hesitated. Mom said she was afraid you would find out. Find out what? She said the money wasn't for her. I sat down. Then who was it for? You. I couldn't understand. What? She was trying to protect you. My daughter explained that Laura had discovered something months earlier. The investment business was carrying debts that neither of us had known about. Someone had been taking money from the company. Laura had initially suspected me. But when she investigated the transactions, she discovered they were connected to Michael Grant. The same man whose name appeared on the house. Michael had been managing some of our investments. He had convinced Laura to move money into several accounts while telling her it was temporary. Then the money disappeared. Laura realized she had made a terrible mistake. She couldn't recover everything. So she began quietly moving whatever money remained into an account protected for our daughter. The $620,000 house was supposed to be another form of protection. But there was a problem. Michael had convinced Laura to put his name on the property while promising he could help recover the missing funds. Instead, he had been preparing to take control of it. I couldn't believe it. So your mother wasn't having an affair with him? No, then why didn't she tell me? My daughter was quiet. Because she thought you would blame her. That sentence stayed with me. I realized Laura had made terrible decisions, but perhaps she had been trying to fix a disaster she didn't know how to handle. My lawyer contacted the bank. The investigation became larger than our divorce. Financial records showed that Michael had moved money from several clients into accounts he controlled. Our business was only one of them. The house wasn't purchased for Michael. Laura had intended to use it as security for the money she was trying to recover. But she had trusted the wrong person. Michael was arrested several weeks later for financial fraud. The house was frozen while the investigation continued. As for the divorce, everything changed. Laura finally told me the truth. We met in a small cafe near the courthouse. She looked exhausted. I should have told you. Yes. I thought I could fix it before you ever knew. You almost lost everything. I know. And you asked me to sign away my rights. She looked down. I was scared. I shook my head. You should have trusted me enough to be scared with me. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't know how to tell you that I'd made a mistake. I didn't forgive her immediately. Some things don't disappear because someone says sorry. But I finally understood that the marriage had not ended because of another man. It ended because we stopped trusting each other when things became difficult. The divorce was finalized months later. The house was eventually sold, and the recovered money was divided according to the court's decision. The account created for our daughter remained protected for her future. Laura and I went our separate ways. We weren't friends. Not then. Maybe not ever. But we stopped treating each other like enemies. One evening, my daughter came to visit me. She sat across from me and said, "Are you okay?" I smiled. "I'm getting there." She looked at me. "You know Mom still feels guilty." "I know." "Are you angry?" I thought about it. I was. "And now?" "Now I think we both made mistakes." She nodded. I looked out the window. For months, I had believed the divorce was about betrayal. In the end, it was about something more complicated. Fear. Money. Secrets. And two people who waited too long to tell each other the truth. I never got the marriage back. But I got something I had almost lost without realizing it. My relationship with my daughter. And when she left that evening, I understood something I wish I had understood years earlier. Sometimes the truth doesn't save a relationship. Sometimes it simply saves the people who still matter after the relationship is gone.